but anyone on the NecroDancer World Cup Discord is welcome to jump in and join me. Back me up here. We are off. Race 1 is underway. NecroRebel taking a pretty quick hit to a blue slime. Gonna reset really shortly after that, upon realizing that that didn't seem to be the right direction to go anyway. GFitty just kind of backing up. Not really the most efficient option when you're in 1-1. You want to be ready for a quick reset in case you find you're going the wrong way on 1-1. But both the races pretty even. NecroRebel getting up there a little sooner than GFitty. But again, this is just 1-1, so it's going to be the initial few seconds of lead that can turn around at any point in this run. NecroRebel finding the potential bloodshot. Looks like he's going to be going into it. You see what it is? It's a pretty weak one. NecroRebel just opting to buy the holy water and leave. Gonna be missing this extra bomb that GFitty found by the looks of it, which is pretty crucial. Although, for a lot of instances, that holy water will be a suitable substitute for a quick boss kill. Although, saying that, he pops it on his mini boss instead, that dire bat, for a little bit of health restore and a quick exit. So at this point, he's, you know, just really hoping that whatever the first boss is, it's something that's a fire bomb. Although finding this glass flail here kind of mitigates the damage done if he gets a boss that you can't quick kill. He gets Congo, which unfortunately is probably the worst one to get. Gets into lack of bomb because he would need that bomb to get Congo off his throne if he wants to do a quick kill. Without that, he's going to be forced to just kind of mash the Congo line out one by one here. There are ways to potentially speed it up with Flail, approaching the conga lines at the sides, swiping out 3 zombies at once, but they're pretty risky and unreliable, so just doing the standard left-right alternation. GFitty takes a hit in the fight and loses that glass Flail, and also unable to replace his weapon because of the lack of flawless. Although NecroRebel getting the enchant weapon scroll, the orange scroll, out of that purple chest, which is not very good. It's a decent backup option for if he breaks that glass flail. He could pick up the shard and enchant it, possibly get a dagger of phasing, dagger of frost, dual dagger, any number of things. A lot of them would help him out. But he's not going to want to enchant that flail because while he could get titanium or obsidian flail, which would be super good, he could also get golden or blood flails, which neither of which he wants. But breaking his glass flail to this tar monster scenario in a really bad situation, and I think is going to go down here. Yeah, in that situation, he just needed to take that tar monster hit right away and get it out of the way. Letting that, taking the time to run around to let that wraith spawn, that wraith really did him in there. Since he had lead boots, tar monster's not going to be able to drag him back to the tar pit and actually do any damage. It's going to be a 4-beat hold. So, correct answer in that situation would have been pretty hard to see. You kind of need some intimate familiarity with how tar monsters work, though. But baiting out a Minotaur charge and then just eating the tar monster would have maybe allowed him to get back to his shard. So now that NecroRebel's back at the start, GFitty running away with this, finding a blast helm and a titanium spear in the meantime. Titanium spear, as I mentioned in the last race I cast, kind of being that awkward middle ground where it's good enough to run to the end game, but it's like just good enough to run to the end game, and just good enough that you don't actively want to replace it, but only barely. Like, it's pretty much the bottom of the line of what people tend to be comfortable with running through the end game. Get a little bit of safety with the long reach, but overall spear is not a very strong weapon. So NecroRebel retracing his steps pretty quickly, getting right back down to Congo with that glass flail again. We might see him go for a different chest other than the purple, though, because that the enchant weapon scroll is very kind of gimmicky, a very limited use. So might look for something more reliable. Might check black to see if he can get a better weapon, one that won't break on him. Gonna be doing just that. Gets an obsidian longsword, probably one of the safest, most reliable weapons in the game. Also going to be bombing for this potion. just for a little bit of extra safety potion, pretty much giving you an extra life. Could jump down that trapdoor, but it's going to opt to take out this red dragon and head for the exit stairs instead, which is absolutely fine. GFitty, meanwhile, pushing pretty effectively on his 3-2. Has a conjure he could potentially check. Pushing this crate over to that bomb trap to open up, see if you can maybe find some food. It's just a small pile of gold, really not what he was looking for. But if he farms up a little bit of gold, could potentially conjure some armor or something in that conjure. Which I think, given his current situation and his current lead, is exactly what he would want. He has a pretty substantial lead. All he really needs at this point is a little bit of, survivability. Kind of popping his shield scroll prematurely there. Not really too difficult of a situation to handle. Might have been better used later on, but that's just fine. Going into this arena, finding an Azure Charm, that's going to prevent the gas and wraiths, the entire line of those randomly appearing enemies from spawning all together. Pretty limited use in Zone 4 because they're extremely rare when you get there, but nice to have nonetheless, because one of those spawning at the wrong time can really hose your plans. Also finding a Shrine of Darkness, which he could potentially be taking here. Gotta skip it though. Not sure I agree with that. Shrine of Darkness, gonna give you the Ring of Darkness, which allows you to steal from shops. It gives you full mapping. It removes torches from the walls, which reduces the chances of random enemies seeing you. And, but yeah, most importantly, that +1 bomb is really good for him right now, because he has 2 bombs, and if you want a fast NecroDancer fight where you skip stage 1, you need 3 bombs for that, at a minimum. Preferably you want 1, but onto his Zone 4 with that shield spell. NecroRebel making up quite a bit of a difference though, right hot on his heels, going down to his 3-3. Gotta be wisely skipping that arena, because he has some time to make up here. Yeah, GFitty finding a shield spell from his boss though, which is really nice for the late game. And yeah, NecroRebel onto deep blues. Probably going to be making the same decision line here. Probably going to be looking for that shield spell, especially with that potion that both races are carrying. That's going to allow plenty of blood casts of the shield spell. You can cast spells when they are not fully charged at a health cost. And the shield is 10 beats on vulnerability, so that's really valuable. We're also seeing a big difference, as I was mentioning, the 3 bomb requirement for NecroDancer quick kill, and NecroRebel has that. Although NecroRebel kind of struggling a bit here at the start of this 4-1, taking a lot of unnecessary damage. Also, NecroRebel lacking the Blast Helm, which is going to protect GFitty from any explosive damage in Zone 4, and there are a lot of sources of explosive damage in Zone 4. You have Goblin Bombers, you have Bomb Traps, you have Pixies. So, lots of, and exploding arrows. So, lots of things that in Zone 4 that can hurt you, but that if you have Blast Helm, you can just safely ignore. But GFitty's kind of slow playing this Zone 4, and NecroRebel has pretty much caught up. He's just about 1 room behind at this point. Although, that advantage on the bomb front I mentioned before is long gone. GFitty has found plenty of extras. He is up to 8 bombs. Can have no problem getting that NecroDancer quick kill. GFitty on to 4-3, NecroRebel just behind him. This is really tight. There's a Shrine of Pace, could bomb that for Boots of Leaping, which would give a really fast NecroDancer fight, but it's pretty risky to use, Boots of Leaping forcing 2 tiles of movement whenever they're enabled. So both racers just gonna stick with what they're comfortable with. Stick with the safer lead boots. Honestly, I personally would say that leaping is the right call in that instance, because lead boots are totally useless as soon as you hit this Deadringer fight, which both races are on right now. And leaping you can just leave turned off so that you have normal movement. NecroRebel, though, going for a riskier fast strat while GFitty is slowing down and doing lure strats, and GFitty is now giving up his lead. So NecroRebel's the first up to the NecroDancer fight, but GFitty is going to bomb through the stage faster because Blast Helm Oh no! NecroRebel getting caught on a Skeleton Rider as he tries to get off his own bomb, goes down. And now it's all on GFitty just to finish this out. Breaking up what would have been a very, very close race. The worst part is that shield spell for NecroRebel was ready to go. All he had to do was pop that and he would have been perfectly fine, but pretty hard to see that sort of thing sometimes in the heat of the moment. And GFitty cleaning up, and that is it. Race 1 goes to GFitty.
Oh dear. Should have been NecroRebel's race.
Yeah, that is a really unfortunate way to go down, especially when you know that you are like neck and neck, and you know it's gonna be practically be a photo finish. To make a basic mistake like that is, though, that's NecroRebel looks like he's taking a few seconds to recuperate, just sitting in the lobby, not immediately going in for the new seed. And I think if I were in his shoes, I would need it too.
Yeah,
that's definitely something you you kind of need to take a moment. Just kind of recuperate.
Somewhat surprised none of them went to bomb the Shrine of Nace on 4-3.
Yeah, again, I was kind of surprised to see neither of them going for that. Lead boots, you know, as I mentioned, they're really good for protection against ooze, but ooze stops being a thing as soon as you hit Deadringer. Lead boots are accomplishing absolutely nothing at that point, so you may as well bomb for the leaping, just toggle them off, and get the really fast NecroDancer.
You don't really need to toggle them off. You have a shield spell you can fire off a couple times.
Yeah. Music's a bit loud, I'll turn it down.
Yeah, especially in GFitty's position where he had, what, like 8 bombs going into 4-3? You're not going to lose any spawn minimization over it anyway, so... I see it's sort of an argument for NecroRebel where he's on 4 bombs, so if he does bomb the shrine, he does go down to losing an extra spawn on the NecroDancer, but...
Yeah, at some point in the middle of that race, Dark Freak joined me in the commentary box. I was...
I joined at the end.
Okay, but yeah, everyone welcome Dark Freak to the commentator box. He'll be joining me for the rest of this race. Yeah, let me boost up his volume in Discord a little bit. He is a little bit quiet. Okay, that should be better.
Alright, Caesar in. Should be going any second now.
Alright, off they go. Oh, we have an immediate red Batcave that generally means a hidden item in there. It does, and it's a freeze spell. Very strong start. Freeze spell, as I've been kind of suggesting to Ryan and the crew, should maybe get a little bit of a nerf in when they do the DLC and rebalancing, because freeze spell is a very, very simple, straightforward, quick kill for pretty much every boss in the game, except for the last bosses, which are immune to it, admittedly, but otherwise it's really, really handy. GFitty using it right away to poke down the Screen Dragon. NecroRebel finding a Shriner, kind of waffling a bit on what to do, eventually settles on taking the Glass Shrine.
I think he was going to bottom for the gold, but realized he had enough to actually just take the shrine.
Yeah, it looked like he was heading for the back corner, which, yeah, usually when you find early Shriners, you don't have that 50 gold. And you have to bomb out the walls to, you know, to afford the price of the shrines. But in this case, he had the gold, so no need to spend the bomb. But yeah, so now he's taking this Glass Shrine, which means he has a Glass Shovel and a Glass Dagger, 4 damage for that dagger, but it will break if he takes damage, so he needs to be careful. GFitty looks like he got caught on something and went down to a Minotaur, and at that exact same moment, NecroRebel breaking all his glass, so back down to base shovel and base dagger. Those glass shards are exactly equivalent to the base level equipment. Using this freeze spell to clear out this boss room, no problem. And it's a Coral Rift fight with the Shard and a bomb. It's a really easy quick kill. And that's going to be an easy flawless. Probably going to be checking his black chest here, looking for a better weapon. Ooh, and he gets the Obsidian Bow. Obsidian Bow kind of in a bit of a weird spot. The game, by like monetary value, considers the Obsidian Bow to be the single best weapon in the game. Or not even just the single best weapon in the game, the single best item in the game. It is worth way more gold than anything else. But from a racing standpoint, bows are generally not too favored. They give you a 3-tile forward reach, which is great for safety and great for casual play, but it does mean that you attack distant enemies that you don't really need to, which is going to waste some time. And yeah, we can see it in action here, being forced to continuously shoot this yellow armadillo as it rolls away from him, instead of being able to move forward.
Confident on the trapdoor with the bow, which is not unusual. The bow is rare. And I imagine not many races are familiar with it, especially Obsidian, where you're going to drop down to 1 damage when you go into the trapdoor.
Yeah,
there are precisely.
It's understandable.
To get your multiplier up.
But yeah, gonna be taking this trapdoor, and yeah, cleaning it up just fine. And yeah, onto Deep Blue's fight here, which he could probably use this freeze spell here to end it pretty quickly. But it looks like he's just gonna do the fight pretty normally. Shooting down the king there, and I could see him going for purple here, looking for a good ring, or for black for a new weapon. He does go for purple and gets a fireball spell, which is pretty nice. Fireball's gonna hit every enemy on his current row for 3 damage, which could potentially be good for clearing out long lines of enemies that his bow would otherwise, be really slow about clearing out. Checking the shop, not really seeing anything worthwhile in there. That Ring of Becoming is worthless without a transmute. It's actually worse than worthless. Taking that ring would mean that he would die to any damage. And the basic torch and backpack also not really worth much at all. So just gonna be looking for the exit here. Finds it. Pretty easy Minotaur kill with that bow. As I mentioned before, bow not so great for speed, but it is great for safety, and currently safety is kind of what he wants, because he does have a fair lead, although GFitty has run back through the seed pretty quickly. He's just about to start his zone 3, excuse me, as well. Finding a glass rapier, one of the best speed weapons in the game, although, again, as with any glass weapon, it carries the risk of breaking on any damage intake, so needs to be careful with it. But if you can keep that rapier alive, definitely will be able to make up the difference between him and NecroRebel at the moment. Especially since NecroRebel is kind of struggling to read this Zone 3. Pretty much doing full exploration of every floor.
Has got a much safer build as a result of it, finding a couple pieces of half armor and
exactly.
Charm and Hargreaves.
Yeah, half a point of armor isn't worth a whole lot, but if you keep picking up extra ones, it adds up. And right now he's sporting 3 pieces of half armor. The leather armor, the Hargreaves, and that protection charm, all worth half a heart of damage reduction to any incoming hits. And yeah, so he's up to 1.5 damage reduction, which means that almost everything's just going to be hitting him for half a heart. But onto his Conga though, and doesn't have any bombs, but does have that Obsidian Shovel, which is really good. Gonna let him end this fight quickly without having to fight the lines out. Finding a Transmute spell, doesn't really want it though. Fireball Freeze is very strong for the end game, so it's just gonna run that. And right there is the strength of Fireball that I'm talking about.
It's not only is that just 3 enemies cleared, it's also a Blade Master cleared, which is really awkward with the bow, as you have to get adjacent to the Blade Master to be able to damage it.
Yeah, Blade Masters, as you can see, yeah, you need to get them to parry and counterattack before they're vulnerable to normal weapon damage. But to fireballs, you know, you can't parry a fireball, believe it or not. Yeah, see, but here again, yeah, wisely using the freeze disabling the Blade Master's parry ability, and letting him punch through that. But yeah, without that freeze, he would have been forced to just keep shooting at the Blade Master until it got adjacent to him. It wasted a lot of time. GFitty, just behind, one floor back, switching off to an Obsidian Sphere, which probably is slightly better than the bow that NecroRebel's having, but considering that he needs to be making up about a floor's worth of difference here, I think maybe should have thought about just sticking with that rapier, despite it being pretty risky.
NecroRebel does have a reasonably safe build going here. His chance of death isn't likely, though. He is vulnerable to go.
Yeah, exactly. Usually most racers are going to want Explorer's Boots, Lead Boots, or Boots of Levitation for Zone 4 because it protects against the ooze hazard, which is really dangerous. Oh! Just fireballing a Blade Master, not realizing that he was in line with the shopkeeper. Looks like he did have a Ring of Shielding or something, though. Greater Shield Pop, so... So, yeah, that bails him out, keeps him alive, but, shooting Pixies. Pixies, you gotta let them touch you. Hitting them makes them explode in your face. Not good. And, yeah, right here, bow. Causing a lot of problems, needing to get away from these enemies and just shooting distant enemies instead. Really taking a lot of damage. Every single piece of his armor, though, counting and letting him live just barely. Although that's really bad for him. He wanted at least 2 hearts so that he could cast this bomb spell twice for the fast NecroDancer kill. But with only half a heart, he can't afford the blood cost. He effectively only has 2 bombs, so he's going to be forced to do some of these button puzzles. Very good use of the enemies there, though, to affect the character parity, though, and get himself aligned properly. Doing this button puzzle, not really necessary. He does have the 2 bombs. He can bomb out the loot and NecroDancer at this point. Definitely doesn't need to do this last one, and is going to skip it. Just bomb out the NecroDancer and the loot, and get into phase 2. Since he was forced to clear out the stage, though, NecroDancer does have all his spawns available to him, and GFitty's Deadringer is going way south, panic freezing to clear out some enemies, but this is still looking pretty bad for him. Okay, cleaning it up, but that was a lot of wasted time on that Deadringer fight, and NecroRebel is down to 2 hits on the NecroDancer. Needs to be very careful, though, because Hayden's is still very much at danger of getting killed. But there it is. The last hit, NecroDancer goes down, and NecroRebel takes game 2.
NecroRebel able to just stay ahead at the end there. That death in Zone 1 cost GFitty quite a bit.
Oh yeah, early game deaths. Early game deaths are the more recoverable ones, but they still there's a lot of interaction between the 2 races. You'll see a lot of playstyle shifts depending on what each racer's opponent is doing. And when you see that your opponent goes down in an early zone, that's usually your cue to just do a little bit of shopping and try and build up a little bit of safety. And we did see that from NecroRebel. We saw him kind of build up those that hodgepodge of small armor pieces, which ultimately ended up being exactly what he needed with that nasty 4-3 situation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Jack, I think, is absolutely right. With this going to a 2-1 situation, I think both of them are pretty unlikely to make it into the playoffs at this point. GFitty might still have a chance with a pretty solid remainder of his week 3, and some key occurrences, wins and losses with some of the other contenders for the top of the bracket. But certainly going to be an uphill battle for him for sure. So we're on to race 3 here. We'll see who sneaks off with the last point here. So far an even 1-1. So this could be going either way. Seeing both racers take pretty much identical routes here so far. We're finding the potential blood shop here. NecroRebel, with a little bit of time save, using the bomb to kill both the Green Dragon and open up the blood shop. It's a it's an okay blood shop. A little bit of armor and that torch gonna help find, find extra items, find the exit. It does show them that potion in their 1-1 rather as they exit though. So certainly not getting any potions this run unless they find a scroll of need.
Another cracked wall there.
NecroRebel, yeah, finding a level 1 wall. Taking Shrine of Blood, which I disagree with, especially since it gave him a Blood Whip, which is probably the worst weapon in the game. I think in that situation, it would have been better to take the, what was that on the left? I'm already forgetting.
Shrine of No Return?
Yeah, that's... I just remembered that it was something that I was thinking was definitely the right call. Shrine of No Return would have been able to give him a Glass Rapier, which, as mentioned in the last race, very solid weapon, extremely powerful, a little dangerous, but very fast weapon. But yeah, now NecroRebel on a Blood Whip, which is... Whips are by far the most hated weapon type in the game for racers, let alone 1 damage whips, which the Blood Whip is in most situations going to be dealing 1 damage. Although that said, it is going to let him hit death metal from a little further away here, should prevent him from getting any summons off, and does successfully do that. So pretty straightforward fight, but is going to be looking to replace this weapon as soon as possible. Meanwhile, and gets another whip! It's a swap up to the Obsidian Whip, so an upgrade. That is 1 to 3 damage. But it's still a whip. It still has a very awkward, large attack radius. Has the same, similar problem to the bow from the last race, of that you're going to be attacking a lot of enemies that you really don't need to be. It's going to be interfering with your movement. And yeah, GFitty getting that same whip, so we've got a whip run.
This could have all been avoided if you've taken No Return.
Exactly. That's, I'm of the philosophy that when you see the opportunity for a good weapon early game, you take it, because you never know if a seed's gonna just give you whips all day, or, it's a risk you take. I'm not sure I agree with that. I mean, whips are a pretty weak selection, but Blood Longsword is a downgrade from 3 damage to 1 damage. I mean, he has the condition of what weapons do infinite damage. They deal infinite damage if you are at half a heart. But since they're regenerating you health every 10 kills, that's pretty hard to maintain.
Yeah, when you don't have a way of reliably chipping yourself down with like a blood drum or a fireball spell to keep yourself at half heart, you lose all the power off the weapon, and it just becomes like a source of passive regen, which I think he just wants the safety at this point.
Yeah, I think probably just more concerned that running a whip in general is just going to get him killed or make him miss his flawlesses. Longsword is a very safe, reliable weapon. It's very straightforward to use. You very rarely get nasty surprise situations with a longsword. GFitty, though, using whip strats effectively and clearing out deep blues a lot faster, so make up the difference. And oh my god, it's a glass whip! This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is a whip seed. Every boss chest it's just whips, 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 and more whips.
So I'm guessing our third boss is going to have like a gold whip or something. Ugh.
We still haven't seen the titanium whip. We can get a titanium whip. Okay, yeah, NecroRebel finding a base spear, though, not really good compared to that Blood Longsword, so gonna keep the Blood Longsword. GFitty's still running this Obsidian Whip. Whips, not only are they, are they not favored to begin with, but they arguably get even worse as you progress, as you get into fighting in Zone 3, these beetles. Beetles you need to get adjacent to break their shells off. Once they get adjacent to you, they'll shed their shells and become vulnerable to attack. But until then, if you hit their shells before they break out, they're just going to ignore the damage and get knocked back and spread some floor hazards.
It's the Shrine of Rhythm.
Ooh, that's an interesting call, although I don't think necessarily a bad one. Considering that He was still on a 1 damage weapon, and he had a solid weapon type, just not a solid weapon material. I don't hate that. I usually dislike the Shrine of Rhythm because Shrine of Rhythm removes every 8th beat in the beat maps, which means you're essentially permanently slowing yourself down by 12.5%. But it also converts all your gear to obsidian, which in some rare situations can be worth the slowdown. And I think in this case there is an argument to be made that it is worth it. He is the first down to his King Konga at any rate. While GFitty is doing a little shopping, wanting to get off this obsidian rapier, only finding a blood, or the obsidian whip, excuse me. Only finding a blood rapier though, which is again, blood weapons are 1 damage. They're not strong, they're not fast. And NecroRebel already down to zone 4 with a pretty solid build. Explorer's Boot's going to protect against ooze. Obsidian Armor's providing a little bit of defense. Obsidian Longsword, as I mentioned a couple races back, is one of the most reliable weapons you can find. And has the 3 bombs for the NecroDancer. But, yeah.
Something we haven't mentioned about Rhythm is, if you do drop your multiplier with Rhythm activated, or the Shrine of Rhythm activated, you will take half a point of damage, which normally means you're going to avoid just standing still for a beat.
Yeah,
it's not your problem with obsidian weapons, but with his war drum, he's able to stay still anyway by hitting his
exactly.
drum.
Oh, and GFitty just went down! I missed what exactly happened to him, but...
I think he got hit by the Black Skelly.
Yeah, looked like it. Yeah, see, the thing is, though, yeah, that war drum is really gonna help him out, because, you need, yeah, normally you can't stand still, but war drum just, lets you stand on 1 tile and boost your damage a little bit for the next turn, and, so he's utilizing that a lot in order to avoid taking damage from Rhythm, which would be doing half-hearted damage every time he misses a beat or does an invalid action. Really helpful for him. Especially going to be helpful against the NecroDancer, because in order to manipulate the NecroDancer's AI and get him to walk within striking distance of the loot, you very frequently have to stand still for a beat or 2. And War Drum's going to let him do that without taking damage. And yeah, NecroRebel skipping on phasing, probably just deciding, you know, I think probably saw GFitty died, and phasing can be tricky to use if you're not intimately familiar with it, so probably just wanting to stick with a pretty standard run here. You know, he's already gotten enough on his mind having to keep the rhythm in mind, because for a lot of high-level players, just, you know, instinctively skipping the beat is pretty common. Yeah, right there, neglecting to use his war drum, just standing there instead to try and get the bat to approach him. But he really has to focus and make sure he's not doing that, because that damage will add up if he lets it. But yeah, just about to finish off his zone 4 and get down to his Dead Ringer fight here. Might check this shop really quick to see if there's anything worthwhile. Finds a nice armor upgrade, the plate armor. Going to be consistently providing a 1.5 damage reduction on any incoming hits. So onto the Dead Ringer fight. Not doing the safe lure strats, which I disagree with, especially since his opponent's currently on zone 1. But it works out just fine for him. Gonna go onto his NecroDancer. Looks like he's gonna check his red chest here though, looking for a blast helm or something, maybe some extra food. Getting a Frost Charm, which will protect him from damage from 1 hit, and cast a Greater Freeze spell, which will freeze everything but the NecroDancer for, I believe it's 15 beats. So 3 bombs, gonna have to go up the center here, which is a little unfortunate because that means you have to clear 3 enemies off the stage. NecroDancer's gonna have one extra enemy to summon compared to the optimal 4 more bomb setup, where you can just walk up the side and only kill two of the mummies. But on to phase 2. And yeah, we're seeing that intelligent use of that war drum in order to avoid damage from the Shrine of Rhythm here. So down to 2 hits. Dorian in kind of an unfortunate position, kind of blocking some lure setups, but nothing too bad. Last hit for NecroRebel here. gonna back off from that bomb. Had the time, but it's, you know, just wanting to just keep it safe. And there's the last hit. NecroRebel going to take game 3, making this a 2-1 in favor of NecroRebel for this set.
It's an unusual but wise play for the Shrine of Rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, that seed was pretty terrible as far as the weapon selection was concerned. It was all whips and blood weapons. And, yeah, when life gives you that, just, you know, turn one of those blood weapons into obsidian. And there you go.